Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are joining from. Thank you all for being here. Good to see everybody here in the chat. I see there's a lot of chat going on already. If you are new here, welcome. First thing we like to do here is introduce ourselves and see where everybody is joining from. So I am going to go ahead and pull up the map and we'll see where people are tuning in from. So if you are in the chat, go ahead and say hi and we should see your little dot pop up on the map. Hello from Scotland, hello from Colombia, hello from Ontario. And I just realized I am missing my little picture-in-picture because as usual, I have been switching everything up. So my studio is still in a bit of a mess here. So I'm just going to let the chats roll in while I position myself in the corner in my little preview window. Hello from India, hello from, oh hey Whirly Freak, saw you there. There we go. Hi from Gothenburg, awesome. I want to go back to Sweden at some point. It's been a while. So today, yeah, studio is still a giant mess and I'm in the middle of switching everything up. And I know a few of you have been following along with my adventures here of painting all of my studio gear white, using some nice spray enamel that I found. And I have a small update on that. Oh, you might also notice, you'll see it bigger in a second, but my shelf is back there, but it's not quite finished yet. And as always, happy to answer questions about anything about live streaming and the gear that I've been showing in videos. I do have the Live Pro L1 still here if we want to try some stuff out using that, since I know there were some questions about it that I didn't answer in my video about it. And I have a new microphone to test out in a little bit. So yes, with that, thank you all for joining. Did I see Photo Joseph in the house? Awesome. Thank you for joining, Joseph. I know that you keep missing my live streams and then I talk about things and we have to catch up about them later. Michael, if I do, or Mikkel, if I do visit Sweden, I would love to get in touch and because yeah, I enjoy traveling and it's been a while since I've been able to do that. Let me go grab the chat here. And, oh, there's my good morning. I need to fix my chat plugin because I have to make sure it's positioned right when I pull up the window, because depending on the size of the window, then you might get that little line across the top. So I always have to type something into the chat first and that way I can position it. So I need to, like, I don't know, build in a fake message into that or something. Have I managed to get the paint off my hands? So yeah, last week I was painting the shelf in the back, and then right after that I was letting the paint dry, and then I came in here to shoot a video about the Live Pro, the L1, and my hands were covered in paint, and I totally didn't even realize it until afterwards. I was editing the top-down shot, and I was just like, oh my god, paint everywhere. Yeah. Rick, thank you for watching. Yeah, the joint live stream with Photo Joseph was excellent, even with the power outage, which was quite an adventure. Did not plan that. Couldn't have planned it better though, honestly. That was kind of a great test of what happens in the real world of, you know, power goes out. What are you going to do? Well, I think we recovered from it reasonably well, considering we hadn't even expected to have to plan for that kind of thing. I am probably going to get a backup battery now for my desk here. I have one at my home desk because I actually have like more servers and stuff plugged in over there. And it didn't really like occur to me to do that for the live streaming gear. But yeah, if the power went out right now, I don't have a good backup plan. My YouTube is not set to auto stop. So it would hang on and expect me to push a feed up to it again. So I could, at the very least, just start streaming from my phone to that same streaming key. And that is my current backup plan. Not a very good one. So hopefully I will have a UPS in here soon. And yeah. What do I think about the Raspberry Pi as a streaming bridge? So I did do a video about it, and you can go search on my channel for a video about exactly how to do that. And it does work. I would say it is a lot more work to get it set up and use it. I think the real advantage the streaming bridge has, despite it only working with the ATEM Mini Pro, is that it just works. Like, if you're using it on your local network, there is zero configuration. It just finds it. And if you're using it across the internet, it is super straightforward to just configure it. You export the XML, you load in the XML. There's no coding. There's no hand editing of files. Whereas the Raspberry Pi, it accomplishes the same goal. It can be used with things other than an ATEM Mini Pro, which is nice. So you can stream to it from OBS, or even you could even stream to it from Restream if you wanted to. And I think that's the main trade-offs there. Let me scroll back up into the chat. I saw some interesting stuff up here at the beginning. And if you do have a question for me, make sure you mention my full name, Aaron Parecki, at Aaron Parecki, and then it shows up nice and orange on my screen. What's happening with my little ATEM Mini Pelican case, Caleb's case that he designed? I've made a few modifications to it, and I still haven't finished it. I am planning on finishing it, but I am planning on finishing it in a live stream. So I think it's fun. It's fun to hang out and work on that kind of stuff. So that's my plan, is to finish it during a live stream. That said, I have a bunch of different things I need to do before I can get to that. I was hoping to be able to like finish it up in that one video, and then things went horribly wrong. So I didn't schedule in time to continue it yet. What's the software I use for the diagram? Yeah, that's the diagram of my studio. Let me see if I have it on in a tab here that I can pull up. It's still in beta, so it's not available to everybody yet, but it is a lot of fun. So it's called H2R Gear. It's by John Barker, here to record. How did that? Oh, that's cool. Well, that's a neat trick. I just learned something. Okay, I'm gonna explain this in a minute. So, okay, H2R Gear. Oh, this is really good to know. Sorry, that was distracting, but in a good way. So this is what it looks like, and I have I'm planning out my studio build of the new gear centered around this 20x20 SDI matrix feeding into the ATEM Mini Pros, and this is a really cool project, and it's h2rgear.com, but it's still in beta. So if you want to join, go look up Here to Record on YouTube, go to his channel, find a video about it, and there's instructions there. Eventually it'll be live. But yeah, it's pretty cool because you can just like tell it what you've got. You can run wires to plan like how many of these little converters am I going to need, because I've got SDI on this side and all the ATEM minis are HDMI. So the answer is, I think, 14. Yeah. Anyway, I want to show you what just happened that I was surprised about. So I went to go switch to my computer input to show you the diagram, and I don't have, like, my ATEMs are in different places now. I still have the other one over there streaming to the streaming bridge, which I'll probably pop over to that desk in a minute. And that means that all my macros I normally use for my dual ATEM setup are completely broken, because normally I have them, like, all the wires are run in a totally different way. So I don't have the button on my Stream Deck that I normally have, which is switch to my computer and put myself in the corner, picture in picture. I like that view for showing my screen. You can see me talking as well. And because I don't have that button, I was like, okay, well, I'm just going to press the 2 button on my ATEM Mini, the actual device itself. So when I press that, it switches to my computer, but also I show up in the picture in picture in the corner. And I was like, wait, what just happened? And I realized it's because this. So this button, oh, you can't see my cursor. This little key 1 button. This key 1 button is how you can preview your Upstream key before actually putting it on air. So that's what I was doing when the map was on the screen. I had this pressed, and then when it's lit up, when that's not on air, I can see it still in my preview window on the multi-view. And then I can tweak the key settings and position it just right, and then either tap the on-air button or do the T bar to fade it in, or just press enter and it auto scrolls in with, I guess, the wipe transition for some reason. But here's the cool thing. Apparently, when that key 1 button is enabled and then I press the 2 button, it brings it in. So it's like you can stage your upstream keys and then bring them in by pressing a physical button on the ATEM, which means I now can go back and forth between these two shots by just pressing the button on the ATEM itself. And I don't need a macro for that. That makes sense? Kind of complicated, but I think that's very cool. And definitely saves me here because, my macros don't work. Yeah, it's the, you notice it's the tie button. It also works on the downstream key. I didn't think it also worked with the buttons on the ATEM, because the buttons on the ATEM don't do the things that these buttons in the interface do. So if I switch over to like this one, it's not acting the same way as if I press the button on the ATEM, which removes the picture-in-picture. That's why I was confused. So when I press this bridge button, my picture-in-picture stays. But if I press the 4 on the ATEM, the picture-in-picture leaves. That's the difference. So yeah, it's very cool. Very cool. I think that's a neat little feature. Anyway. Where were we? Let's take a look back at the chat. Yes, that software. And then I got derailed into discovering a new feature that I didn't even know about. Okay, if you don't put my name in the chat, I'm gonna scroll past because I see a lot of people answering questions in here, which is awesome. So I'm going to just look at the ones with my name in them. Testing the new NDI app for Android output is great, but I don't see anything on the phone screen. Oh, that's a bummer. That's a weird kind of, I guess that is a limitation of that app, but that's cool. Yeah, the NDI app for Android just came out, I guess, last week. And that is handy for being able to send and be able to use any Android phone as an NDI camera now. Some of the Android cameras are really good, just like the new iPhones. I don't really know anything about the Android side of the house though, so that is for you all to tell me about. We need a video about your UPS. Yeah, I will have to do that at some point once I get one for the desk. I have one for the network closet, which is why my internet connection stayed up during that stream. But I'm going to have to get one for this desk too, apparently. Thank you for the advanced birthday wishes. Waiting for my wishes to come true from Blackmagic. Yes, they're running out of time. The clock is ticking. And I'm still hoping we get the ATEM, what do I call it? The ATEM ATEM Television Studio Mini. Was that what it was? Yeah. Anyway. I'm looking forward to that coming out. So yeah, speaking of Android devices, how can I only use my Android phone as an HDMI capture device and connect it to the ATEM Mini Pro ISO? I only have cell phones and want to use them as cameras. So wait, HDMI capture device? Android phone is a capture device or as a camera? Because if you want to use it as a camera, you just need to get some sort of whatever USB-C to HDMI dongle that's going to work with that phone to be able to like have that phone see it as an external monitor, and that would plug into the ATEM Mini, and then you'll have to find an app that can output a clean feed of the camera. And like I said before, I don't know anything about the Android side of the world. I've been on iPhones for ages, ever since I think it was like I had an Android phone last in 2010, 2011, so it's been a while. But you'll need to find an app that can do a clean feed out to an external monitor and then get a HDMI dongle. And like, this is the Apple one, right? But like any of these little phone to HDMI dongles would work for that. And okay, next. Scott Have you ever integrated OBS to WebEx for streaming? I know people don't like WebEx, but it's what my company is using. I have had to use WebEx. I also don't like it. I much prefer Zoom. But those are all like basically the same thing, right? They just look for they look for a webcam device on the laptop. So however you can get a webcam device to appear on your laptop works fine. And OBS can do a virtual camera. I tend to not use that much because I, again, prefer doing everything in hardware where the ATEM is handling the video processing of whether that's just running a camera into it or doing more complicated stuff like green screening or overlaying this chat message or whatever. But it should work. I mean, it's pretty straightforward for like once you install the virtual camera thing from OBS to make it appear as a virtual camera, then it should be able to be recognized by WebEx. Simon asks, any suggestions for studio speakers? I don't have any in here. I have the little like Audio Technica speakers at home, and I barely ever use them. I mostly just use headphones for everything. I don't know. This is a good point, Jonas. I think that is a setting. I think it's related to the setting that is, let me show this, picture-in-picture keyer. I have a feeling it's this one. So if I change that and then cut away, oh, I have to save it first. Nope, it's not that. Strange, okay. Apparently it's just how it works. The buttons on the ATEM definitely do things in not the normal way compared to the software control interface, which I think is really interesting. Yeah, full studio tour, including the battery backup, would be very cool. I'm going to have to just keep adding to this list. This list is going to get really long of things to cover in my studio tour, considering this was built out from the bare walls, including one of the walls. So I have some little bits of footage that I shot along the way. I didn't do a very good job of documenting the whole process, but I do have some clips I can splice in to talk about that part of the process of like picking out the flooring, doing the wiring of all the power outlets around here. I did most of the work with my dad up until the point of about, I want to say like March or April, when it became clear that I needed to just start using this and didn't have any more time to futz around with doing it all myself. And I paid someone to just come in and finish it all up. UPSs can generate a lot of noise, especially on audio. I use 12-volt DC and batteries. Do you mean noise like room noise, like just fan noise, or do you mean noise on the line, like electrical noise? Because I do have a UPS at home on my desk that is dead silent, and that's what I'm probably gonna get the same one just because I know it works and I know it's quiet. The one I have in my closet has dreadful fans on it. It's super loud and I kind of regret it. And yeah, but it's like I don't want to replace it because it works fine, and getting rid of batteries is really expensive. Hum noise. Yeah, so the one I have at home doesn't make any noise when it's powered by the wall. Now, once it switches into battery mode, I think it might have a bit of a hum, but you're only going to get like 5 minutes of that anyway. So it's not really meant to be like, you don't get a UPS to plan on running an hour-long show on the UPS. So it's really meant to just be like to recover from the power glitches, temporary outages, and not to like run a whole show. So if I did want to run a whole show remotely, I would not use a UPS. I would use 12-volt batteries because that would work way better. ATEM Mini Pro works silly with WebEx, but one should use the web UI for WebEx because the desktop app randomly messes with brightness. Not sure I follow. I did use my ATEM Mini Pro as a capture device for my camera with WebEx fine. But with the desktop app. I've done that several times and it seems to work fine. Nothing super fancy. It was just a camera running into it though. So I didn't do any, I've stopped mixing my slides with my camera when I'm in these video conferencing platforms because they compress the video signal for your camera differently from when you are using their screen sharing features. So I've started to use their actual screen sharing features instead for sharing the slides. Christopher asks, if two parties each have two streaming bridges, would they be able to do a two-way live stream? Two parties each have two bridges or one each? So when Joseph and I were doing that, mine wasn't being used. I was just streaming to his. In order for him to stream back to me, that would tie up his encoder, ATEM Mini Pro encoder, streaming to my studio. So we would need something else then to stream the show to YouTube. And I don't know if that would work well because you end up with that. There is that delay, and the delay, while it was pretty much undetectable when you're on the audience side of the sort of like 1 second or under 1 second lag, pretty much undetectable, except in some cases where we were going quickly back and forth. I do think that would be too much to actually have a conversation where I was hearing him on that delay, because we had a real-time connection over Zoom that was not being broadcast. So I don't know if I would, if both people streaming in across, you would end up with doubling that delay essentially. And I don't think it would work well. Plus you would need an extra encoder to stream to YouTube anyway. It'd be an interesting experiment though. It'd be fun to try. Yona says, interesting, my ATEM does switch the tie when I press cut. Maybe that's the upstream versus downstream key difference. I'm gonna have to experiment with that anyway. Okay. Well, where was I? It just jumped. This is the one downside of using YouTube's actual chat, is that it just skips around sometimes. Simon asks, did you ever finish the LED track lights? So on my ceiling, I have tracks, and I'm going to run. I'm going to put LEDs in them. I have not finished them, but I finally did buy stuff to finish that. The thing that was stressing me out about it was, let me just switch over to my other my camera so I can show you the ceiling. Now I don't want the picture-in-picture. So over audio, I don't have my headset on yet. This audio. So up on my, can you still hear me? Looks like it, yes. So up on my ceiling is, where's the button? Some nice little wires hanging out there. Those are the tracks. And those wires are hanging out because I need to figure out how to attach a power supply to that ceiling. That's what I've been waiting for, is how do I actually, I have this power supply, how do I actually attach it to the top of the ceiling? And I realized that there are like boxes you can just buy, like metal boxes or plastic boxes. And I can just hide it all in there, paint that thing white, and then screw that to the ceiling. So I think that's my new plan. I ordered a bunch of parts for that, and those are all coming this week. So hopefully I can finally finish that project, and then I'll actually have some normal light in here too. And I thought ahead this time and brought the chat over to this table too, so I can actually see what you're saying. So while we're over here, let me actually, oh, is the chat still up there? Yeah. I need to have a phone for those buttons. While we're over here, let me go and try this other microphone. Audio sync issue. Sync is on now. You should be hearing me from, oh, I may have forgot to add the 3-frame delay on this ATEM because I think it rebooted. Let me switch back to get rid of that key. switch back to here. I think I forgot to add the delay over here. Yes. 3 frames. Okay, now I can go back. That should be better. All right. So speaking of audio, Rick says, be careful with the plastic box and closing the power brick and build up heat. Yeah, I was going to I bought a fan too. A little tiny fan. I was going to put a fan on the box, inside the box, blowing out. So we'll see how that goes. So yeah, I have a new microphone to test out. I'm kind of curious what you all think about it. So first I want to show you this because it's kind of a cool little thing. I already opened it, so it's not quite a real unboxing, but this is the microphone. I did already open it. It's wireless. It is 2.4 gigahertz, which is my favorite kind of wireless because it's digital, and it actually comes with 2. You get this little lav mic, and you also get a headset. So this is like definitely overkill for what I'm doing, but let's see how it looks. And then this plugs into their little transmitters, which I think are somewhere charging. So, oh, and yes, they did send this over to me to take a look at. So thanks to Kimafun for that. These are the little things. They actually give you a dual USB charging cable, which I thought was clever. So you only have to steal one USB port from your charger, and then it gives you 2 to charge the transmitter and the receiver, which look like this. And the microphone plugs into that one, and this is the thing. This is the receiver. So I'm just going to plug that directly into the ATEM because that should hopefully work. Yeah, and let's see, what else is in the box? They give you a little capture card for for a laptop, USB audio device essentially, and then there's a cable for using it with a phone, which splits out. Why can't I use my own overhead camera? This cable splits out the headphone and the microphone for plugging into a phone. Of course, not the new iPhones because they don't have that jack. And they give you a couple little extra fluffy things. So yeah, let me go ahead and connect this and we'll see how it goes. So that's on, this is on, they just pair automatically and don't need that. So I'm gonna go back over and plug this into the ATEM. Okay, this is my desk microphone still, but plug this in to the ATEM and it's just gonna kind of hang off the end there. And we will switch over to that. Now, is it a lot louder? I think it might be a little bit louder. Okay, cool. Yeah, this is, let me know how this sounds though, because I'm not monitoring my own audio right now. I can see the levels bouncing though. Graham says oops, sorry. Get to you in a second, Craig. Graham says, I've had problems with 2.4 gigahertz wireless mics when there are lots of people using Wi-Fi in the room. Probably okay in your studio, but in a venue. That is a good point. It is a good point that the 2.4 gigahertz is the Wi-Fi, same frequency as Wi-Fi. The reason that I like that is because it's unlicensed. And there's a bunch of the analog frequencies that regular analog mics use are about to get reassigned by the FCC. So if you're using some of those, and you have to go look it up, but some of those are going to, some of them are going to just stop being allowed to work. They'll still work, of course, but you won't be allowed to. So with the 2.4 gigahertz ones, they're going to be fine. The downside is, of course, that you have to share it with your the Wi-Fi spectrum. Okay, let me turn this down a tad. Not bad. Definitely works. Audio is a little hot. It sounds quite good for labs. Sounds like a help desk. Yeah, this is definitely a different kind of microphone. Not good with the P sounds. I must because I put it too high up. Sounds like a podcast mic. That makes sense because it is a lot closer to my face. It is inches. Oops, sorry. It is inches from my face instead of a foot. Still getting some popping. You need a de-esser. Yeah, interesting. Maybe put it a little bit closer. I can't get that much closer. It's pretty much on my face. Unavailable in Germany, and I don't know why. That is strange. Better presence since it's so close to your mouth. Better detail. Makes sense. Makes sense. Also, I'm sure it's doing better because I don't have very good acoustics in my room itself. So that is probably an advantage to this kind of thing of putting it in my face. Oh, and I just remembered that I should definitely drop a link to this. Did I make a link for it? I did not. Not planning ahead here. Speaking of links to products, I have a new thing to share with you as well regarding that. It looks like it is this one. And yes, okay. Going to put it in audio category. All right, here is the link to the microphone. Cool. Sounds great. Can't hear any essing or popping issues. Great. So I think I had it too high up before, and I just moved it down so that the air is all blowing over the top now. And yeah, so speaking of links, I made a little thing for links. I've been using Genius, and that's a cool website for creating referral links, affiliate links. And one of the things it does is because they have an API, I decided to make a website for you to be able to search my links. So if you go to aaronpk.tv/products, and then you can just search for stuff. So you can search for Kimafun, and you'll find my affiliate link. And then you can click that and support the channel. So if you're ever wondering, have I ever recommended or talked about a product, you can just search now for it, like ATEM Mini. You'll find a bunch of ATEM Mini links because I made a bunch of them. Only some of them have pictures. I don't know exactly why. So yeah, if you ever have a question about have I recommended something, then just go ahead and search this little website. That is, I'll drop a link to that in the chat as well. One of my future goals with this is to be able to, in addition to just having the link out to my own shows that I've done where I've mentioned this product. That is future goals. I want to make that happen somehow. So we'll see if I can figure that out. And I see a couple of super chats here. Thank you all very much. First from Paul. Previously, you had a screen on a stand behind you. Oh, I forgot to bring that over this morning. Looking to add multi-view monitor, suggestions for a cheap 24p, 30p capable of 15-inch plus. I don't know exactly about 24p, 30p. However, I will say that the Feel World or C-Tech, same company, just different brand names, their monitors have been really good. And I have a small one on my desk here. It's this little 5-inch or 7-inch maybe, and then I have the bigger one from them. I think it's 15. When I did a video about the multi-view one, I'm pretty sure those do support 30p, probably 24p. Not 100% sure, but they have a lot of good stuff. So I would check them out to take a look at their list of monitors. And Randy, thank you very much for the super chat. All right. Let me go back over to the other desk, though, and we can keep talking about stuff over there. So switching back over off of this mic. Only downside of being over here is that I can't pop the chat messages up on the screen. But I do have the chat messages here. So yeah, this is my little rack gear. I'm still waiting for the SDI matrix here before I can finish it. And I did paint my Hyperdeck white. Don't tell Blackmagic. And then I'm going to have to get a bunch of these little keystone jacks for HDMIs and other things, which I haven't quite mapped out all of what's going into those. But the big question is, am I going to paint the SDI matrix white also? Because it's a very expensive device, so we will see. Okay, Christopher asks, I plug my ATEM Mini into a 1080p monitor and it says input not supported, ideas. Yes, this happens sometimes. I don't know 100% of the reasons. However, the way that the ATEM Mini works is it first sends a 30p or whatever, I think it's whatever your program feed is set to. It sends that signal out, and then it tries to upgrade it to 60 frames per second. And a lot of monitors, that works fine. So with my Feel World, like this one, this one works fine with it, and I can see the frame rate displayed on the screen when it first gets a signal, and I can see that it's first showing me that it's at 30, and then it switches in a second or two to 60. And I think some monitors don't like that. Like they see the 30 frames per second signal, and then they say, oh, that's not supported. And then they stop negotiating. So that's, I think, what's going on with those. So if you set your ATEM to 60 frames per second as its bit rate or as its frame rate, it will probably work, because the first signal it will send will be 60 frames a second. And that's probably how you can get around that limitation with that monitor. But some monitors are okay with 30 frames a second signal. So yeah, totally a crapshoot, really. Let me come back over here. You can tell I'm not quite as oops, double audio there. You can tell I'm not quite as used to this dual desk setup because my macros keep getting, or my keep missing the transitions. Same thing happened to me. Switched to ATEM 60p. It worked. Yep. Cool. Are those Blackmagic displays at the top of the rack? They are. It's the Blackmagic Dual Smart View Duo, and I also painted that white. Yeah, doubling the frame rate is the effect. Yeah, the downside is that you are then streaming at that bit rate or frame rate, even though you maybe don't want to. So kind of a weird situation there. What's with the white paint? Why am I doing this? I don't know. I like everything in here I want everything to match, and I want everything to also be brightly colored. So I haven't put my shelf back together, but I did finish painting all of that, which was a giant mess, and I never want to do that again. There's too many surfaces each side of all of those little bars, and then the reason that I'm not done yet is because I'm also covering the shelves with the same paper, contact paper that I covered the table in. So my top-down view, do I have that? I have that if I switch over that camera angle. So my top-down view, which I left the iPad there, that is not wood. That's contact paper. And I covered the table in that so that it looks like fake wood. And I'm also covering all of the shelves of that with the same so that they match. It's just a design thing. Yeah, I just want it to look cool. And I want it to all match. And I don't like when some of the gear is dark gray and some is light gray. So Star Trek white, that's why the headset. It's Star Trek white or Stormtrooper white. We'll see which one it is. Thanks, Christopher. Yeah, I am also looking forward to getting my overhead lighting in so that I can actually brighten this place up a little bit more as well. Thanks for watching, Craig. Do you think Blackmagic will be releasing a new ATEM television studio for the new year? I sure hope so. That's 3 days before my birthday, or 3 days after my birthday, so they better. I'm counting on it. And yeah, I'll be very happy if they do release a new television studio, something in that mid-tier. We'll see what comes out. I have not heard anything, of course, since they are Blackmagic and very secretive. Robert asks, have I tried a USB camera with the YOLO box? I have. I've tried the Logitech, was a C920. It's the classic like $100 or whatever USB webcam, and that is it's webcam quality. Like, it's not going to look like this at all. I don't have it here to show you, but it does work with the YOLO box. So it's good as like, oh, you need a quick shot showing how crowded the room is, or how, like that's ever happening again. But that's what I would have used it for, is like, I've got the close-up shot of the speaker doing the presentation, and then I cut to a wide shot of the room. And that is probably good enough for like a couple seconds on the screen. The benefit being that it doesn't need its own power. It's powered over USB. You can also plug in a USB capture card to that, which means you can use like the Elgato Camlink or any of those cheap little USB HDMI capture cards. You could even plug in an ATEM Mini USB output into that device to have that whole thing be a camera. So some options there. For streaming, do I prefer 30 or 60 frames per second? I stream at 30 because I'm not streaming games. If I was streaming gameplay or like high motion tutorials on a computer, I would do 60. Then, but yeah, if it's just video, I'm just going to stream at 30 because you don't need twice as many frames to see my lips move. Yes, we will get me my dream ATEM Mini Pro. Droopy Dog says, when you showed the switcher diagram, I was confused because it looked like the SDI connectors had multiple inputs, outputs each. Yes, that is true. They do. This is the, that's not the right one. That's the right one. This is the diagram. Oh, it's interesting little state switch there. If I don't switch, oh, come on. Oh my God. Where's my key? What's happening? Oh, I'm on the wrong ATEM. I have to go to my other one. There we go. Okay. There we go. Yeah, so these are the Blackmagic bidirectional converters. So they can do, they go both directions. So they can convert HDMI to SDI as well as SDI to HDMI at the same time. So that's actually the reason this diagram is such a disaster, because it's doing two jobs, and it's doing jobs on both sides, both top and bottom of the matrix. So I could have used twice as many devices and put the HDMI to SDI converter up here. Apple, come on. Okay, because of the way I've got my screen mirroring happening, my cursor appears on only one of the displays. Well, good news is my Video Hub will fix this problem. So this one is doing two jobs. It looks like the highlighting of the cables is wrong, but You can see that it's got HDMI coming in from up there. This one's connected to the Apple TV up there. And then it sends the SDI out into the input 5. So like it should be sitting up there, but then it's doing the other job of SDI 4, converting it to HDMI 4 down on the ATEM Mini Pro. Anyway, yes, these are bidirectional converters. I think the other reason that they're useful is because when you have them running on a long cable, you can run 2 SDI cables to it, and then at the other end you get input and output converted to HDMI, right? So when I'm using this with, for example, you could use it with a SDI camera, where the SDI camera has both SDI in and out, but then you need to connect it to the ATEM Mini. So anyway, actually that's not a good example because the ATEM Mini only uses HDMI for both directions, which that device can also do, thankfully. Amazingly, in an update, they made it convert their control signals for HDMI cameras and SDI cameras to the opposite. So, yeah. Sorry. Anyway. Have I tried Pro Mouse? I use it when teaching to make sure everybody can see my mouse cursor. I have not. That sounds cool. However, I don't think that's the problem here. It's just literally Apple. So my computer sees 2 monitors. It sees my screen that I'm looking at, and it also sees the ATEM as a monitor. And then I've gone and told my computer to, here. So you can see it's got 2 monitors there. I can't point to it. I'll move the thing under my finger. That's what I'm pointing to. So that top one, it's got 2 monitors, and I've dragged them over each other so that it mirrors them. And when it does that, that means what I'm seeing on my screen is also what's showing up in the ATEM Mini Pro. The problem is that the cursor is only appearing on one of them. And that's just a bug by Apple. Thank you very much. Yes, they work at the same time. So you get HDMI in and out and SDI in and out at the same time. So very cool. Very cool little things. And I have so many of them on order. Can you explain upstream, downstream key? Yeah, I feel like I should do a real video about this, but the short version, not to bore everybody who already knows this, the short version is, think of it like layers. So whatever your input is set to, like the program buttons on here, whatever your input is set to, that's going to be your background layer. And then the upstream key is like your next layer. And the upstream key, you can do more things on it. And you can do things like actually scale the video. So that lets you do picture in picture, right? So you can take another video source, shrink it, and then move it. You can also use it for green screen. So you can take another video source, remove all the green, and then whatever's behind it shows through. And then the downstream key is the top of the stack. And the downstream key is much more limiting. You can only do Luma key and cropping. You can't move it, and you can't do chroma keying or video processing. So that's the sort of stack. Now the ATEM Mini, and I think even the Television Studio HD has 2 downstream keys, but 1 upstream. Once you get into the higher model ATEMs, they start adding multiple upstream keyers and multiple downstream keyers, so you can start doing more fancier things. But with the ATEM Mini line, you get just 1 of each. So you have your background layer, you have an upstream key, which is going to be able to either chroma key stuff out or scale and resize things. And then you have your downstream key for like the kind of last overlay. So the downstream key ends up being useful for popping a logo in the corner, or that's how I'm doing the chat here, where this is cropped down from my computer screen and then the black is taken out from behind it. And that frees up the upstream key to do picture in picture. I found macOS to be buggy with the displays configured to be one on top of the other. It seems to work better in a left-right config. Yeah, it's specifically a problem with the fact that it's trying to mirror two displays, two external displays. The problem is if I split them, then I can't show you what's on my screen because I would have to look at the tiny version of it on the multi-view screen. I guess it's not tiny when it's actually when it's the full screen. It's quarter size, but still not ideal. The downstream key never has green screen, as far as I know. I don't think it's a mini limitation, although I haven't used the Constellation 8K. But I'm pretty sure the downstream key is always just Luma key. Correct me if I'm wrong. But the upstream key always has all the green screen effects. And yes, you can use both at the same time, which is exactly what I'm doing here. So when I switch, so that the chat right now is brought in with the downstream key. And if I switch to this view, the chat is still there. And so actually it's a little bit easier to see when I bring another window in front of it. So the upstream key, if I press this on-air button for next transition, that's going to get rid of my picture-in-picture. That's the upstream key. The downstream key is the chat. So you can do both at the same time. And I've got upstream key is set to pattern. If it was set to chroma, that would do something totally different. I can probably green screen myself out if I just, yeah. So you can see this is not set up as a green screen, but you can see that it is keying that part out pretty well. And then I'm not going to switch it to Luma, but I can do pattern, or DVE is just scaling it. I kind of like the circle though. And downstream key looks like this, where you only get the option of choosing which source, and then you can mask it, and you can't do Luma keying or scaling. And Andre confirms downstream is Luma only. That was my understanding. How about just using HDMI splitter? That possibly works. I've had mixed luck with that, and I might need to try that again. Actually, a while ago, I was using... Where did it go? I don't know where it went. I was using a... I have no idea where that went. I was using an actual USB-C dongle that had two HDMI outs, and the Mac saw it as one display. So it was essentially treating it as a splitter. And it was working fine on my 13-inch MacBook Pro, and it's crashing my 16-inch MacBook Pro. And I feel like a USB-C dongle should not be able to crash a computer. I thought they were built better than that, but this is why I don't like computers. But I'm not really trying to solve this problem right now anyway, because as soon as I get the SDI matrix in, none of this matters anymore, because I run one feed from my laptop HDMI into converting to SDI to the matrix, and then the matrix will send the signal, one copy to my monitor, one copy to the ATEM, and my computer is not involved in that process at all. So it's not going to matter as soon as I get that device in, so I haven't really bothered trying to fix it. Cool. Okay. What else did I have on my list since we're coming up on time? Yeah, cool. If you're wondering what I'm using for the comments, I have a video on that on my channel, so go check that out. It should be searchable or pretty obvious to find it. So my monitor will have to support the right frame rate from the matrix. It will, or I'll have to use a converter from that. So we'll see. Yeah, I'm about to go through a complete rebuild of this. So it's going to be really interesting to see how well this is all going to work. I'm hoping my plans come together well. Yeah, we will see. We will see. I'm scrolling back up because I missed a couple. Oh, Eunice says, so is that with the new ones? The old ones can only do one thing at a time, I think. The bidirectional converters. My understanding is that they do both at the same time. I sure hope so, because I'm kind of counting on that. Otherwise, I'm going to have to go order a bunch more stuff. But I thought that was the whole point of them. The bidirectional converters, it says, so one way to use them is as a single, of course, but I know if you do HDMI in and run 2 SDIs to the camera, it can do camera control from the ATEM. That's not how I'm going to use them. And right, so here's the diagram of one HDMI into the ATEM and then 2 SDIs into that, or other way around, you run 2 SDIs into your switcher and one SDI or one HDMI into the Blackmagic camera. But now I'm trying to find it in here. I know somewhere it... Yeah, I don't see it now. Bidirectional converter. So this is actually what I wanted to see. I need to do a video about HDCP. We talked about it a little bit last week, but this means that it does not support... This means it completely does not support HDCP, which is correct because I need it to tell the device not to encrypt the signal. Whereas if it did support it, it would tell the device to encrypt the signal, which then wouldn't work. Yeah, now I'm not finding it. I'll find that out later. But I was pretty sure it does both at the same time. What do I think about splitting the HDMI from the ATEM Mini out to Terranex HDMI SDI in Ultra Studio on one side and other to the web presenter? Well, that's a chain of things. I'm not quite sure what the goal is here. What are you trying to do with that, I guess, is my question. Reviewed one of your videos about creating a Raspberry Pi RTMP server. Great instructions. Thanks. Where's the XML import on the ATEM control software? So after that video, the streaming bridge was finally shipped. So I didn't at the time. They hadn't shipped the feature yet in the ATEM software control. The new way I would recommend doing this is creating a standalone streaming file, because if you go up to the stream menu, there's this button here called load streaming settings. And if you can now in this software just load in an XML file into your output settings. Before, what you had to do was go edit your actual streaming.xml file on the computer, which is so okay, this is what the standalone file looks like. This is what their software makes. And when you go into the ATEM setup and export like your streaming bridge config, this is what it creates, which means you can just change this to the IP address of your Raspberry Pi or your home network or whatever it is. And now you can send this file to somebody and they can load it into the interface without having to ever look at this. Before, you had to actually go edit your actual streaming.xml file, which I don't actually think I have now. Yeah, I don't have my actual one on my computer at hand, but no. It's somewhere buried in like the library of the computer. So it takes a while to find it, but I wrote the path in that video, and you have to like hand edit that file, which is less fun. And the new way I would do is I would go make that standalone file that copies the streaming bridge output and replace it with the Raspberry Pi settings. Craig asks, do I still use my Sling Studio? I haven't, because what I was using it for was filming while traveling, while I was out at events. And typically, actually, mainly I was using it for when I was hosting an event, or it's a lot easier to use that than have to set up a whole bunch of other wires. So I was using it for that, and obviously that hasn't happened at all this year. So I haven't really used it this year just because I haven't been in any events. And it doesn't make sense to use it in this studio because it doesn't really give me any advantages in this environment. Yeah. Cool, but good question. The cheap bidirectional converters from Decimator do both ways simultaneously. That's good to know. I have one of those, and I will, yeah, hopefully the Blackmagic ones do as well. So the Sling Studio, I would say the big advantage is the cameras are always wireless. So I guess that's a disadvantage in some cases. So you have to buy a transmitter for each camera you want to add in. It has one HDMI port on it, but it's meant for, that's really like where you put slides in. Cameras are all wireless. You can use a phone as a camera directly to the thing. And I would say those are the big advantages. It's very straightforward to load up the iPad interface and quickly explain to somebody how to use it. So if you did have to have volunteers running a show, you can write up a quick instruction sheet for them. Whereas setting up the ATEM Mini Pro, if you do want your cameras to be wireless, it requires quite a lot more gear, plugging a lot more stuff in, and then explaining somebody how to use it is more complicated. So I think that's really the advantage. But we haven't seen any updates from them for a long time, so I'm really curious what's going on. I don't know if they're like going to stop making it or if they're working on a new version that's going to launch soon. But it seems like YOLObox is really stealing their thunder now as the sort of like portable battery powered streaming rig. Could one theoretically prepare a streaming file to send out to somebody that is streaming to your server? A prepared config for streaming to my Facebook page to eliminate problems. Totally. Yeah, you can create that streaming file now with whatever settings you want into it. It does not have to be a streaming bridge, and send that to somebody. And then they can load it into their ATEM software. Simon, you are correct. Blackmagic says convert HDMI to SDI to HDMI and at the same time HDMI to SDI. Whew. Okay, I was getting nervous there for a second. All right. What's the best way to add videos to the live stream via HDMI input on the ATEM? The best under what criteria, I guess. There's a lot of different ways, and this would be a good video. The Hyperdeck is probably the highest quality and easiest to control and automate from the ATEM. I've done some videos on that, or live streams on that anyway. And however, it's really finicky about like video formats and things like that. You can always just play a video from a computer and the ATEM shows up as an external monitor over HDMI. There's some iPad apps for doing that, of loading up clips in an iPad app, and then you get buttons to press to play out those clips over HDMI. I would say an iPad might be the best because it's very flexible. You can load in video clips into the Photos library at the very least, or use a special app for it. But it really depends on like what you're going for, because as far as automating it with macros, Hyperdeck hands down. There's of course the Raspberry Pi clone of the Hyperdeck, which is another good option. And yeah, it's a lot of different ways to do it. All right, I'm just going to look through the last couple of questions here before we wrap up. And sorry, I'm not going to get to all of them. Yes, Playout B Hyperdeck Simulator works great. And ooh, this is a good one. What do you think about the Decimator Quad for converting 4 SDI to HDMI for the ATEM? Wait, the Decimator Quad. I thought they didn't have a device that can do 4 SDI to 4 HDMI. That would be useful. If they do, I might have to look at that, because I wonder if it's cheaper than buying 4 of the dual converters. I'll have to try that. I do have the Decimator Quad View, which is a different device. It's 4 SDI in and then 1 SDI HDMI out for doing like layouts. So you can actually do scaling of you can use it as a multi-viewer, but you can also do like different sizes. So you can do like the layout I like for watching conference talks is like large slides, small speaker right next to it. not overlapping. But yeah, I'll have to look if they have a quad for SDI to HDMI, because that would be a great way to get 4 signals converted with one device. Graham, thank you for the super chat. I appreciate it. Lots of good info here. Yes, iMix Pro 16 is the iPad app for that. Thank you, Andre. Quad 4S. Okay, I'll take a look at the estimator. I know they have a ton of cool stuff. So it may not actually end up being cheaper though, because I am actually using all of the both ends of the bidirectional converters. I'm using HDMI to SDI and SDI to HDMI in those. So I would have to have an equivalent for HDMI to 4 SDI. Anyway, maybe I'll get one to play around anyway. So it'll be fun. Yes, don't forget to press the thumbs up button now. This is an excellent time to press that button. And Stuart, thank you for the super chat. And I think with that, we are going to, am I on the right ATEM? I think with that, we are going to wrap up. And thank you all for joining. It's been a fun time chatting and learning new things. I always appreciate the questions, a lot of good questions, and it gets me thinking about some new things and new video ideas. With any luck, I will be able to film a video this afternoon for this week. I'm still trying to catch up on my review videos. So, and then I'll be able to finally get to my studio tour video, which is going to be a lot of fun. So with that, thank you all for watching, and yeah, I will see you next time.